What's up, everybody? I'm starting a little early right now because I have some stuff to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. But yes, we are talking about politics today. We're gonna be talking about these tariffs. We're gonna be talking about how Kamala Harris got her payback because she told y'all, she told you hoes, this is what's going to happen. And guess what? It's happening. So laugh is on her, right? But I also want to talk about this whole Cory Booker thing because these pro-Palestine people be driving me crazy. You know, they got a march on Saturday, and then they want to talk about how Cory Booker, which did a filibuster for 25 hours, didn't mention this and that about Gaza. Listen, ain't nobody care about that right now. So let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Talk the Real Deal with AT2. And yes, I'm your boy AT2. How everybody doing? How everybody living? How everybody feeling today? What's up? Lovely to see all you wonderful, beautiful faces out there. What's up, Danielle Turner? Shout out to my cousin Danielle. I don't know if she's really my cousin, but she got the last name Turner like me. What's up, Jamie? How you doing? What's up, Bailey? Who else? We got Beautiful up in the building. What's up, Beautiful? What's up, Grown Woman? Hello. Thank y'all for being here. You know, I always appreciate y'all showing me so much love. Shout out to Judge Shady Court. I guess she live right now. She cuts me out saying I went live at this. Listen, we don't even know what time you be going live at because you'll schedule the live one day and then won't do it for 30 days later. So get out of here with all that. But what's up, everybody? Hello. And the number of people to say things Kamala needs to be doing to help the country, though she lost the election. Exactly. What you want her to do after she lost the election? Do you go to your job? No, not your job. Do you go back to a job where you got fired or either you didn't get the job and still go there and work? No. Are you crazy? But I'm happy that Kamala, she spoke at, it was some kind of women's event in California that she spoke at. And she kind of spoke to a lot of things that has been going on, you know, with the billionaires. You know, she threw a shot at Elon Musk the other day. But speaking about this whole Trump regime, who's been basically collapsing the economy on purpose. Not basically, they are. We see the stock market. We see how down it is. And mind you, it started to pick a little bit back up today until China hit back and was all like, well, we're going to charge y'all a 34% tariff now. And I want to tell you, remember we were talking about the chart that Trump had? And I knew those numbers were skewed. It didn't make any sense for a country to charge us 90. I think Vietnam, it showed like 90% that they charge us on the tariff. I knew those numbers were hiked up. Like those numbers weren't true. How they got those numbers was it's supposed to be offset of the trade deficit. That's how they got those numbers. So they weren't true numbers. So where for Vietnam that you're seeing, for example, charged us 90%, that was not true. But funny story is Vietnam is the only one that is trying to negotiate. What they're hoping is that everybody will come back to the table and renegotiate their tariff costs. But most people are saying like, no, F you. You know, Canada hit people with the energy tariff. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the Eastern, Midwestern, like New York and stuff like that, their energy comes from Canada. So it's going to affect a lot of those people in Michigan, New York. Like people are going to start seeing why politics matter. And I think for me, one of the goals that I have, Joy, is to explain to people like, no, politics do matter. You might think, oh, I don't care. Nothing changes. I don't know. Y'all going to have to start remembering how 2008 was. When we was in that recession, you're going to start seeing parallels. I promise you that. But let's go ahead and get into Kamala Harris. I know y'all tired of me talking. Let's go ahead and get into Kamala. Here we go, y'all. Let me blow it up.
When a few stand with the courage That is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day. To stand, to have the courage to say, I feel fear. The courage to say what is happening is wrong. The courage to say that there is a way that we must chart to get through this. Understanding our power in the democracy we still have if we hold on to it. Courage is contagious.
What could have been, everyone? What could have been? That, of course, was former Vice President Kamala Harris speaking at a summit of women leaders earlier this evening. It's one of the first times we've seen her speak out since her November election loss. She hasn't been out there a ton. We'll see if she comes out more. She also spoke about the current state of fear in our country.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating.
Oh, that's a big word right there.
Clearly.
And, you know, like I was saying the other day, it was funny because remember, I was all like, where is this fight that it seemed there was in 2017, as they call it, the resistance? Where is that right now? Because literally you see all these companies, all the politicians, everyone is like basically like, oh, Trump, you're the best. Oh, Trump. And it's all like nobody's fighting him back on anything. Like, what is going on? Like, it's almost like we live in an alternative reality. And I feel that, okay, when he got elected, it was kind of like, oh, well, shit, like, what's going on? You know, for some of us who did not vote for him, it felt like, damn, really? You know, it was like a shock to us, right? Thank you, Dovey. Tell them to hit that like button. It was a shock to us, but then it was like, okay, like, we got to be on our shit. We really got to be on our shit. And for me, I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to really educate the people, because obviously we spent too much time in 2024 talking about Diddy. That's what I feel. I feel like Diddy was a distraction because we spent too much time on Diddy and not too much time on this, showing the people like, hey, this is going to have consequences if this man gets back in office. Don't forget, he's on a revenge tour. All the cases against him, those 34 convictions, found liable for SA, all that, he's on his revenge. And so is Elon Musk. They on their revenge tour right now, and we're feeling it. So again, I like how she mentioned, like, everybody's capitulating to him. Like, everybody's bowing down.
Unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing.
Right.
Each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, you know, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
First of all, she predicted a lot of these things that were going to happen, and many people are definitely scared. We see that out there. We're also seeing
right, and I'm happy that she said, she said, hey, I'm not here to tell you I told you so, but yeah, she told them so. And people saying, oh, she never talked about this, she never talked about that. Y'all just listen, what y'all cared about was whether she was black or not, which was beside the point of anything to do with her politics. But what y'all were concerned about is whether or not Kamala Harris was black. Y'all was not concerned about anything else. Oh, and some of y'all were concerned about Gaza. And let me make this standpoint. When I talk about Gaza or Palestinians, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the pro-Palestinian movement that wants to have this purity test when it comes to certain people, because we're going to get into that, the hypocrisy, right? But that purity test, I'm talking about specifically them. I'm not talking about, I still stand with the people in Gaza. Don't ever think my position on them have changed, the citizens. It's the pro movement that, yeah, that's what it is. But anyway, but with Kamala, she spoke on these things. People chose not to listen. And you in the FAFO, right? I got to remember the acronym because I want to say the word, but I don't want to get flagged, right? But F around and find out. We're in that stage. And it's so funny because you see Fox News, you see these right-wing podcasts. Some of them have spoken out, like Ben Shapiro has spoken out against the tariffs, but a lot of them are like, well, Trump, he said we're going to be in pain. It's going to hurt for a while. Why do we have to feel the hurt? Can anybody explain that? Kamala Harris never said, oh, you guys are going to have to feel the hurt. I never heard that in her campaign. But Trump, before he was elected, Elon did a whole interview saying, like, yeah, the people are going to have to suffer, but suffering is going to be good. They're just going to have to suffer for a little while. But there's not a time limit. First of all, there's not a time limit on whether or not how long we're going to have to suffer for. And two, it's not a time limit on if this is going to work. This whole, the American jobs are coming back. Listen, let me see where my Nikes are made. I believe in China, but let me double check on the tongue. Oh, wait, this ain't got no tongue on it, huh? Hold on. Oh, the tag is in the inside. China. Are y'all gonna start making shoes again in the US? Are y'all gonna want to be in a factory making shoes for $5 an hour? That kind of job ain't never coming back, y'all. These little minuscule things like these factory, like we have factory jobs here, but the ones that they're talking about coming from these other countries, those are not going to come back. And then you have to remember something too. The materials, it's not even whether or not it can be built in the US, it's the materials like the steel, like the different minerals and stuff like that. Those things are not here in the US. So you got to think about, okay, this still needs to come from a different country, which in turn, the materials still have tariffs on it, even if they are made in the US. Stellantis, who makes parts for the Jeep, right? They're laying off 900 people after these tariffs. So people are losing their jobs, you guys. And this is going to happen more. More people are going to be laid off. There's some factories shutting down for a couple of weeks. I forgot which one it was, but there's some factories shutting down right now for a couple of weeks until they can renegotiate and figure shit out. Because this is shocking everyone. But again, this is what people wanted. This is what they wanted, right? If I was Kamala, I'd tell people, tell Shady yeah, I did not like that whole, listen, I was a huge Janet Jackson fan, but I didn't like how out of her and the Jackson family to talk about somebody being black or not when they all look a little different, right? They all got chopped cheese nose. They all got them nose jobs, skin lightening. I don't even want to go in on the Jacksons, but if they're going to talk about who black and who not, and you know what the other crazy, can we talk about something else about people talking about who black and who not? Because again, this had nothing to do with Kamala's policies, but y'all wanted to talk about her skin color and if she was black or not, right? The most people that I've seen talking about Kamala, whether she was black or not, are people married to other white people. And that describes the Jackson family as well. They fall in that category too. But I'm all like, the people, like, what does that have to do with anything? That didn't have to do with shit. Nothing. And so again, Kamala spoke to the middle class. She spoke to getting loans, helping families, the child tax credit. She was going to continue fighting to get the student loans taken away. You know, like there was things that she was still fighting for the middle class. When they asked Trump about child care, he said tariffs. When they asked him how he was going to solve the homeless issue, tariffs. How was he going to bring jobs back? Tariffs and deportation. Those things don't even go together with solving homelessness, jobs, and, so forth and so forth. And especially after they want to continue the H-1B1 visa to let the immigrants come over here and work the job stuff for cheap labor. Those were his answers. But again, we have this purity test, and especially it seems like not just only Democrats, but when it comes to Black politicians, they have to have this purity test. They have to check off all the boxes. They have to check off all the boxes. They cannot be imperfect. What's up, Grandma Joy? Let me catch up to some of y'all. Corbin said, I would have voted for a rock over Trump. The oppression to our people was due to skin tone. Elle, where are you going with that? I want to know where you're going with that. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but what does that have to do with what I'm saying right now? Homelessness isn't about homes and more. Well, it's about affordability. Now, whether, we can have a conversation about mental health. Like, yes, that is a part of it. Mental health, substance abuse, that has something to do with it. But what about me or somebody else in the chat who can't afford housing? Rent is starting at $2,500 out here where I am. You might can find a studio for $1,800, but at least a 1-bedroom starting at $2,500 out here. And working $20 an hour, that's hard. And Kamala had a plan to help with the housing. So it has been proven that you have to build more housing in order to help decrease the pricing. You have to have more supply. Because at first I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You have to have more supply. But when I looked it up, a lot of economists have said you have to build more homes to get it more affordable. And Kamala also said that she wanted to stop these outsiders and these people purchasing homes, purchasing family homes and stuff like that, because you have these big corporations, you have outside from foreign entities buying these family homes and then charging these ridiculous amounts for the rent. And we all know when the rent goes up and somebody who's living in an older home that's been there for 50 years, their property tax goes up. And so this is how they get housed out. So that would have dealt with I would say gentrification. Gentrification. Yes, beautiful. Gentrification. Exactly. Kamala spoke to that. What was Donald Trump's plan? Tariffs and deportation. So you guys didn't want to listen. I hate when you guys want to have this argument with me and y'all know what I'm talking, and I know what I'm talking about. When I know what I'm talking about, you can't argue with me. When I don't know, I'll be like, oh, okay. I'll throw up my hands. I ain't afraid to admit when I don't know something. There's something else to this clip. What's up, Kay? There's something else to this clip that I wanted to bring up because they mentioned that protest.
That people are going out in full force to resist, with mass mobilization across the country, including a huge nationwide rally called Hands Off, planned on Saturday. And joining me now is one of the people headlining the rally in D.C., Congressman Jamie Raskin, who is, of course, a Democrat of Maryland, also ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, it's great to see you. First, it's been a pretty good week for Democrats, I think. A week where people saw lots of candidates announce they were going to run. You saw Senator Booker do an overnight inspiring moment on the floor.
F your protest, ho. F your protest. I better not see anybody in my chat. What's up, son? I better not see anybody in my chat going to that protest. If I find out y'all went to that protest, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. I don't want to see none of y'all there. Especially if you Black. I don't want to see none of y'all there. Do not go to any of those protests. Listen, I did a protest. You know what my protest was? My protest was on November 5th when I voted for Kamala. That's what I protested. That was my protest vote when I voted for Kamala. Y'all want to do remember when I was talking about being proactive and being reactive? The proactive was voting for Kamala on November 5th. The reactive is all this symbolism shit that y'all want to do after the point. Y'all already know this man don't give a damn. Nichelle, I'm telling the truth. Y'all already know this man don't give a damn, and y'all want to talk about, yeah, we're gonna go protest like he care. Okay, when he send them National Guards out there and start bombing y'all with smoke bombs and, you know, start beating y'all down, listen, yeah, you might want to think twice. Yeah, you know he don't care. Any chance that he gets to send out the National Guards, Nettie, y'all know I'm telling the truth, Nettie. Any chance he get, he gonna send them. he gonna send them out there. So yeah, good luck, be safe. That's all I gotta say. But I don't want to see none of my people. None of my people out there. Let them do that. Don't risk y'all lives for the nah. It's okay. We done with that. I wanted to read L's comment. That is not true. The economy is a force. A farce. A farce. Kamala embodied. Open borders for Ukrainians and South Americans. Well, here's where you're wrong about that. Ukrainians are refugees. So they come in because of they're going through war right now. So that has nothing to do with open border, south border, north border, south border. It has nothing to do with that, right? And then secondly, in regards to the South Americans. Now, I think there needs to be something said about this. And I'm not huge on immigration. However, I do know this. If you were not a victim, but if you were trying to seek refuge for asylum, whether it was political, domestic, whatnot, so forth, then you are allowed due process. So here's the thing. What Trump has done differently is cut off all that due process and everything like that. It's just a flat out no. So this is what makes it different now. And it's not just that he stopped the people at the border, which, you know, okay, I'll give you that, right? But it's like the people who were on parole and people who are waiting for their status and stuff like that, gone, out of here. And let's not forget something too. It's not just the criminals. No, it's all of them. All of them getting up out of here. Even the people who are citizens, which we'll get into a little later, even the people who are, well, not citizens, but legal residents, Trump is getting them up out of here too. So it's everybody getting up out of here. Yes, that is true, Joy. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. He's definitely sending troops to Chicago. See, I'm telling you, they coming. And like I said, I am not against protesting. That's legal, right? That's your legal right. But my thing is like, why be reactive when we could have been proactive? Oh, thank you, Callie. I appreciate the super sticker. Thank you. And shout out to anybody else who donate, you know, send a super sticker, super sticker, super chat, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all that good stuff. Thank you. But yeah, you definitely should have been more proactive instead of reactive, because this is where we are now. You know, this is where we are. I would disagree. Protest is controlled. I still disagree with that, because my whole point, MB, is that we wouldn't be in a protest. Well, I mean, there was protests before Trump even got in office, right? People have been protesting forever, right? However, the particular protest is the what you call it, the hands off or whatnot. Yeah, that's all bullshit. I don't give a damn. I don't care. Can we really protest freely? I doubt it. No, you can protest. Yeah, that's the thing. You can protest. Yeah, you are allowed. But do you think that that's going to be safe right now, depending on how large this is going to be and what's going to go down? And I'm not, and again, like I'm saying, I want to clarify. Let's be clear. I'm not saying I'm against protesting, but as far as doing this whole reactive performative protest after the fact, when you already knew what the consequences were, that's what I'm judging. So yes, I stand on what I say. April 5th, fuck you and your protest, bitch. That's what I'm going to say to all those protesters tomorrow. Fuck you. Somebody had to say it. Somebody had to say F you. Somebody had to say it. And I'm here to say it. Oh, well. Because you should have been proactive and not reactive. Hallelujah, holla back. Thank you, Nichelle. Right, Kay, you just can't protest Teslas. Yeah. It is what it is. Everybody was war. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. You know, I don't know what to say. I guarantee if you research, protest isn't as free as people perceive. I think I know where you're. Okay, now I understand where you're going with it. And no, I agree with what you are saying, but I think we're saying the same thing without saying the same thing. I get your point. The people had every opportunity to make an informed vote. Both candidates told you what they were going to do. Boom, exactly. Do people need a permit? That I'm not sure. I think technically you can just for example, you can protest the government, but if it's supposed to be some nationwide kind of protest in the street, I believe you need a permit for that. Yes, so you can have like police protection and all that stuff. Right, just like I told you guys. Yep. Okay. So let's go ahead and stop this. So I wanted to talk about the tariffs a little bit before we move into Cory Booker, because I don't want to start cussing out all the pro-Palestinian people yet. I'm going to save that for last. No, I'm saying I'm going to save that for last, right? Even though I already started cussing and yelling and everything else. But, you know, God knows my heart. And I still love, the only reason why I cuss y'all out is because I love y'all. That's why I cuss y'all out.
It comes out next hour. To date, the labor data has painted a picture of a jobs market that's cooling, but not contracting. Is that all about to change? CNN's Matt Egan is here. Let's start with this breaking news, though, which is China now says 34%.
Yeah, look, that is why we're seeing more mayhem in financial markets around the world. Markets are going boom, but they're going boom down. Look at this. Dow futures off by almost 3%. This signals another 1,200-point loss at the opening bell. That's on top of yesterday's 1,700-point loss. Steeper losses for the NASDAQ futures down 3%. So what happened was futures were down a bit, and then China retaliated. They came back and they say they're putting a 34% tariff on goods that are made in the United States. It's not shocking to see China fire back.
Right.
But this is an escalation that investors, of course, did not want to see, because retaliation, it can kill jobs here in the United States. It can slow economic growth, and it could just fan more retaliation. You could get into this escalatory cycle that is almost impossible to get out of. One other big development that happened last night is JP Morgan came out with a new recession warning. They previously said that they thought there's a 40% chance of a recession in the US and in the world economy. They just upped that to 60%, citing specifically the tariffs. And of course, this is one of the reasons why we've seen markets take such a hit in recent days, but another recession warning here.
So I believe in order to call it a recession, it has to be 3 months down, like in a downward, a downward trend as far as jobs, GDP, all that stuff. So, excuse me. Right now, the job growth for March was 228,000, and then unemployment did tick up by 0.1%. So now unemployment did go up by is now 4.2 compared to 4.1. So actually, it has not been extreme. So we're gonna be fair across the board. So I just wanted to let y'all know it only ticked up by 0.1 for the unemployment, and then jobs 228,000 were created in March. So we're gonna be fair across the board, right?
How bad was yesterday?
Yeah, it was so bad that some people on Wall Street have said instead of calling it Liberation Day, they're calling it Obliteration Day. It was the worst day for U.S. stocks since COVID. We saw the S&P 500 close at a 7-month low. We saw oil prices fall very sharply. Tech stocks get clobbered.
Yeah.
Bond yields went down because investors piled into the safety of ultra safe government debt. One of the only things that went up on the day was fear. We saw the VIX volatility index go straight up. One of the stocks that got hit the hardest was Apple. Apple's really kind of at the epicenter here, right? It's the world's most valuable company. Yesterday, it lost $310 billion, worst day since 2020 for Apple, and that's because they make a lot of their stuff, their iPhones and other items, they make it all overseas, and those products are now facing steep tariffs. And again, now you have China retaliating.
U.S. stock futures turning sharply downward, and they keep getting worse, I have to say. This on the heels of the news released just a short time ago that China is imposing 34% tariffs on all imports from the United States.
And I want to say something about that, beautiful, because in regards to Biden, inflation, right? That's still a part of Biden. We know that inflation was high, right? But since then, inflation had started going down before the end of his term. Now, here's the thing. If everything that happened under Biden was his fault, and we cannot go back and blame COVID and Trump the way he handled it, then Trump has to sit in this, which basically the stock market was going up. It was on an uptick when he first got in. It didn't start going down until the tariffs. Like, this is a man-made issue. Like, literally, it was something created. It wasn't 2007, 2008 with the bad loans and the stuff that the bank was doing. This is his own choosing. Like, he's choosing for all of this to happen. Literally, he could have just leave it. He could have left it alone, but he's choosing to do these things. And this is why, and basically with the stock market, it's based on perception of how they think the country is going to go. And so, with all these tariffs and stuff like that, they're all like, okay, well, this is going to look bad. So people are more, and it's based off of also the American people as far as like, okay, well, all these tariffs are coming into play. Well, I'm going to hold on to my money. I don't feel confident enough that I'll be able to spend and get that money back. Orange is the new broke. I like that. Thank you, Dovey. I appreciate that. Okay. We're just going to listen to a couple more seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and get into Cory Booker and how y'all hate black politicians.
United States starting on April 10th. This, of course, in response to President Trump's new tariffs. This is retaliation. This is a trade war.
Kelly.
Let's get right to CNN's Mark Stewart, who is in Beijing with all the news on this. Mark, you actually broke this the moment it happened. What can you tell us about it?
John, much anticipated. And as you said, if this is a trade war, this is a very big hit from China. 2 points I want to make. Number one, even though these tariffs are very broad, impacting all imports, it will really hurt American farmers and
Consumer
the
lack
US
of faith. That's what
agriculture
it's called. Thank you,
industry
beautiful.
the hardest. China imports a lot of soybeans of all products from the United States. It's been a top customer. With these additional tariffs, the price will skyrocket. It will force China's farmers, as well as food producers, to go somewhere else to buy soybeans, therefore hurting the United States. In addition, China has also put some restrictions on rare minerals that are used to make everyday household products, also electronics. That could impact the American effort to beef up more domestic manufacturing and production. The other point to make, the fact this is happening on a Friday night at—
By the way, Russia didn't get any tariffs. They didn't get any tariffs. Russia was the one exception to the rule. I think there's another country, but I know Russia for a fact didn't get any tariffs.
the start of a very important holiday weekend says a lot. Beijing certainly could have waited until Monday, but this is making a very big statement, especially within China, to the domestic population. It's also coming at a time when China is really trying to establish itself as a stable, rational force in the world. In fact, there was a Chinese official just recently in Europe, meeting with officials in Hungary, releasing a statement saying that China would be willing to have some kind of relationship with the United States to fight against protectionism, to fight against bullying. Again, John, the fact this is happening on a Friday night really underscores the fact that China is serious about this.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop it here, but I wanted to let you guys know that the Russia thing, I'm happy that somebody had mentioned that. Yeah, so Russia is an exception. And then on top of that, China, like I warned you guys, I think last week it was, that China is having their own deal with Canada, Mexico. Like countries are just basically going to start going around the US. They're going to start going around us. Like, yeah, they'll still need us. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh, they don't need America, but they're going to start going around us where, yeah, we don't care. We already see that China has a free trade deal with South Korea, who South Korea are our allies. They have a free trade agreement with Canada. They have one with Mexico. They're even trying to build a new canal, a new route around the U.S. So again, these countries are starting to go around us, and that's scary because it's all like we thought if we would big dick them, basically that's what it is. If we thought if we could big dick them, Trump thought if we can big dick them into, yeah, you have to negotiate with us and you have to do X, Y, and Z, and it's not working out that way. But again, we'll see. What's up, C. Simone? How you doing? Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I don't think it's working out the way they thought it was going to work out. But again, I want to say something else too. This was the last point. These tariffs, we won't start feeling the effects until next week. That's when we'll really start seeing things go up and all that stuff. Hopefully, I'm hopeful some deal will be worked out, or Trump will realize this is ridiculous, or somebody in his team will realize it's ridiculous. I know the Senate had done passed some kind of bill. I forgot what it was called. Hold on, let me see. The Senate passed some kind of bill on tariffs, basically telling them like Canada and Mexico, they can't do tariffs on those. Hold on, let me see. Senate pass tariff bill. Okay, here we go. U.S. Senate passes bill aimed at stopping Trump tariffs on Canada. Democrats needed support of at least four Republicans to win passage. Senators say Trump tariffs will hurt business in their states. Goal of legislation is terminating Trump emergency declaration. House unlikely to approve measure. Okay, so the Senate passes, but it still has to go through the House. And so, Senate is one thing, but it still has to go to the House. Usually goes from the House to the Senate, but this kind of worked a little backwards. What's up, Lady J? I didn't say hi to you earlier. I'm sorry. I don't know. I got Chinese last night and wanted to ask if the let me block you. Hold on, lady. Let me block your ass. The hell is wrong? I'm just kidding. I love black people. We don't take nothing serious, huh? All right. So I wanted to talk about Cory Booker. So I know we had congratulated him on doing 25 hours. He passed that racist Strom Thurmond, who held the record for 24 hours. He went 25 hours. So shout out to Cory Booker, right? Everybody was saying it was performative. It was this, is that. Well, yeah, technically everything is performative, but at least he was all like, hey, something is not right. Somebody needs to go out here and fight for the people and try to bring awareness. So again, we didn't watch the whole 25 hours, but you've seen clips on the news. It got media attention, over 1 million views on the video. It probably has more now, but it was trying to bring awareness. Well, there's one part about him wearing a pin. It was a yellow ribbon. And basically that's supposed to signify for the hostages that are still in Gaza. And he does work on some kind of Jewish and Black caucus. It's some kind of, well, it's a caucus basically, and they work together, you know, building that relationship and so forth and so forth. Cory Booker has also been criticized because he takes AIPAC money. He takes money from Israel and all this other stuff. However, I'm not grandstanding on, oh, you have to 100% be behind Gaza in order to be a legit politician. I'm not. All those pro-Palestinian people who was telling you not to vote for Kamala because genocide Kamala and all this other stuff, even though she was not the president. No, F them. I'm not doing that purity test anymore, but I wanted to go ahead and bring you guys some facts. Shout out to Marie for this video. This is from TikTok. Make sure you guys follow her out. And then we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders afterwards.
Cory Booker did not wear that yellow pin for his entire speech. His speech was 25 hours long, and he put it on around the 20-hour mark.
I'm grateful that we were founders of the Black Jewish Caucus. And in fact, I keep this Juneteenth Seder coming up, and I'm gonna put this on as you have it on, as I think about Edon Alexander and all those who are suffering.
Before October 7th, a yellow ribbon in American politics meant showing support with American veterans and soldiers, but after October 7th, it's also gained the meaning of solidarity with Israel, and specifically part of the Bring Them Home movement, which is about bringing the hostages home. Edon Alexander is the last American hostage. He's also an IDF/IOS soldier and is from New Jersey. I understand if people are opposed to Cory Booker's stance on Israel, but I'm just why are you acting surprised and shocked that he would do this? This is Cory Booker we're talking about. He has been vocally pro-Israel for his entire political career. This is a huge news story. Edon is from New Jersey. Cory Booker represents New Jersey in the Senate. Why would he not at least mention this once within his speech? And I haven't gone through the entire 25 hours of Cory Booker's speech. Neither have you. And I'm definitely not going to go through it to find all of the evidence of him being pro-Israel, because it's
every day we're hearing news stories of immigrants, some here legally, some awaiting trial, most charged with no crimes, being rounded up, detained, arrested, deported, often just disappeared. This is happening without charges, evidence, trials, hearings, without what the Constitution says, due process. This is what other governments done. We've talked about it in the Foreign Relations Committee. We complain about it to nations across the earth when they do not show due process, where they disappear people.
Now, Rose T, I know that you just came in, but I already spoke and gave my statement on what I think about Israel, Palestine. And if you've been following me, you already know how I feel about Israel, aka the whites of Israel. You already know how I feel. That's not being questioned. And like I said, my stance on all of that will never change. However, it's this purity test that everybody has. And again, he wore that pin for one of for one of his constituents in Jersey, who's currently being held in Gaza, one of the hostages. That's why he wore that pin. It wasn't like, oh, I support genocide or anything like that. And that's what people are trying to correlate like, oh, he's standing up for Israel and doing no. That's not what he's doing. It's literally for the hostage. He didn't say, yeah, we're going to take down Hamas and we're going to do this. And I wanted to show you that second clip too, that showed you that he was talking about the deportation, but not just, the Hispanics and Latinos, but also people who are here legally, talking about people who have been protesting. And thank you, Dobie, for becoming a member. People who have been protesting, which is in their right to protest, and they're also protected by the law. They're able to protest, but they have been snatched up saying that they're a part of Hamas. So did he say that necessarily like, oh, this is against pro-Palestinian? No, he did not say that, but his message was still there that they were getting snatched up. But again, everybody wants this this purity test, but you guys only want the purity test with the black people. Y'all with only the black politicians, y'all want the purity test. And I'm sorry, but so what? He gets AIPAC money. I'm sorry, but are you worried about him getting money from Israel? But you anti-black at the same time. Why you so anti-black? Because let's talk about Bernie can grandstand about how he not for them giving money and all this other stuff. But let's not pretend like now he doesn't get AIPAC money, but he still gets money from big corporations. Walmart is one of his biggest donors. So again, it's a purity test thing. Oh, well, I like this, but I don't like this necessarily. They still one and the same bird. There is no way in hell that you are you're a part of the government and you're so pure and everything like that. Because I want to show you what Bernie has to say about genocide, because he doesn't even recognize it as a genocide. So let's go ahead and play this, because y'all so anti-black. Y'all come down on the black politicians, but won't say anything about the whites.
I want to move on a bit to current affairs. In your view, is what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide?
In my view, it is absolutely disgraceful, horrible, and I'm doing, as a United States Senator, everything I can to end it. And where I'm sitting is, and I don't know how many people know this, every year the United States provides about $3.5 billion in military aid to Israel. On top of that, there is a bill. I was supposed to be here earlier. Couldn't come because a bill came up for not just all for Israel, $95 billion, including $14 billion for Israel. And I have led the opposition to that. I do not want to see the United States complicit in what Netanyahu and his right-wing lunatic friends are doing right now to the Palestinian people.
But do you buy the South African case at the International Court of Justice that what Israel is doing in Gaza constitutes genocide or genocidal acts?
I think, look, we can argue about definitions. It is horrible. Right now, 29,000 people have been killed, and some 70,000 have been injured. Some 65% of the housing units have been destroyed.
By the way, Rose T, I love you. I was just using you as an example, but it's all love. And I appreciate everybody's opinion, by the way. But yeah. And here, I used to consider myself a progressive too. It wasn't until after this election, I was like, oh no, fuck that. I ain't no progressive. I ain't no leftist. Like the purity, it's the purity test for me that is crazy. And mind you, I agree with you. I don't like the big corporate donors and, these corporate politicians. However, I think as of right now, if we don't have the money, I ain't got $1 million to give to a candidate, right? I ain't got $1 million. That's just not something that I can do at this moment. One day I will be a millionaire, but at this moment I can't do that. So I understand, especially with the other side, they're not going to compete without being able to get that money. They're not, Yes, Rosie, we need to talk offline, definitely. But they're not going to be able to compete at all without that money. there's no, unfortunately, being pro healthcare, Medicare for all, being raising minimum wage, not just raising minimum wage, but livable wages, those kind of things that we want, reparations, power to the people, reparations, but all those things that we want, we have to work in the confines of what we have in the system that we have, right? And one of the things after the election was to keep these kind of conversations going, because we don't get political until it's time to vote. No one was talking about politics until this recent election. I don't remember anybody talking about it, right? But now everybody is, a political expert. And my thing was like, hey, I'm okay with us having those conversations about having a plan, getting the tangible, we need those tangibles, all that. I am fine with those conversations, but we need to have them earlier on. We can't wait until the election talking about, we're going to hold out our vote until we get 10. No. We need to start already working on that. And then also figuring out how we can get the candidates that we want in. And maybe if we can't get the candidates that we want, at least using and trying to negotiate with the candidates that we have to get what we want. How do we do that? That's what I more want to figure out. I'm more solution-based than to be angry. And I felt like a lot of people just wanted to be angry, but didn't offer any solution. Okay, if we can't vote for this person, what do? We just sit on the couch. Or no, what we need to do is let the system burn down. Letting the system burn down doesn't work for me. The system is already burning. Like, we got to put a little fire on it. We either got to put, not a little fire, a little water on it. We either got to put water on it or we got to piss on it. But we just can't let the system completely burn down. That's not going to work. I'm not in that place where I can let the system burn down. Now, there's plenty of millionaires and billionaires that can let it burn down, because no matter what, they're going to eat, right? They're going to eat. They're going to be okay. Even if they lose a couple of million here and there, they're going to be okay. But like for me and you, no, we feel the effects of everything, where other people, they don't feel the effects of everything. They might, feel a little hidden here and there. But for example, if one of your favorite artists can't sell out a stadium, okay, they can just move to a smaller venue. Or they can get free tickets and do a tax write-off. They'll be fine. Either way, they will be fine. They'll be okay. But me and you are going to feel it more than the other people are going to feel it. And again, did I think Kamala Harris was the best candidate? No, I didn't think she was like the overall best candidate. But at the time, was she the best for what we needed? Yes, she was definitely the best for what she needed. Was she perfect? No. But like I told you guys, if she runs again, and most likely, I don't think she's running for governor. That's kind of like an insult. Like, you go from VP to a governor, and nah, I don't think she's doing that. Shout out to my godmama Gigi darling. Shout out to you. But definitely, I believe that she's going to run again. So if she ends up losing the primary, then I'll talk my shit and stuff like that. But for now, I don't want no sound bites and then people replaying my clips or anything negative. So that's why I kind of let it go. It's not that I don't have an opinion. I kind of see the bigger picture and I'm all like, okay, let me just kind of wait around. And I do feel like with Democrats and people on the left, I do feel like they need that more or less get in line. And I hate saying it like that, right? The whole get in line thing. Because I feel like we should be able to question and hold our politicians accountable. But I see with the Republicans, they get in line. Do y'all know off the top of your hand, like during the election, were there any Republicans going after Trump? Or did we see anybody say, oh, Trump isn't pure white? We need an ancestry from Trump. We didn't see nothing stupid like that. No one cared about how white Trump was. None of them cared. They're like, get these trans people, get these immigrants up out of here. That's all they cared about. They stuck on message. But they weren't like, Trump, he isn't really white. He might be Italian. He might be they didn't care about his name. Listen, he was white enough to them. Actually, he's orange, but he was white enough to them. And they didn't care about, listen, they didn't care about all them convictions that he had. They didn't care about him being an SA'er. They didn't care about none of that. They said it was a government conspiracy and all this other shit. But they did not care about how white he was. They didn't do a purity test on how white he is. You know, they did not care. And again, if we want to say mixed people aren't black or whatever, listen, that's your prerogative. That's on you, right? I think there is a conversation that we could have about that, but that had nothing to do with the economy. It had nothing to do with it. That's my point. It had shit to do with that. It had shit to do with it. And instead of focusing on the actual policies, we were worried if the lady was Indian or black, or if she was Irish, or who her Candace Owen, who her grandma was. Nigga, what the fuck that had to do with anything? Nothing. It was stupid. So yeah, that was my point, y'all. Did y'all like the show? I know I done cussed y'all out and shit like that, but don't charge it to me. Charge it to my heart. They overplayed the race card and pandered to the blackity black crowd. It failed. She should have went with she was just the better candidate. Well, I don't see, and here's the thing. If you are black of color, is it called pandering? Like, because Trump, mind you, Trump didn't even go to the barbershop. He had Byron Donalds, who cheated on his first black wife and now with a white woman. You know, why? You know, the whole barbershop scene, and he was over the phone, and like that wasn't performative. Like, you know, if we're gonna say Kamala pandered, we gotta say the other one pandered. You know, shit. Do your pandering. Do your big one when it comes to pandering. Like, you know. No, you need to do 3 hours. Yeah, you know, I'll be trying to cram so much into an hour show, y'all. Like I said, that's why, like, it's not that I ignore y'all. It's just like I gotta stay on topic because we can go, you know, we can go all the way down the list on things. We can really get deep, but I try to keep it surface level, so then you guys can just get the information. And then, you know, I always come back and then add more, take stuff out, and, you know, flip it and reverse it. But I try to make it digestible so people can get it. Yeah, Jamie, it was embarrassing. Yeah, but anyway, you guys, I gotta go ahead and get prepared. I'm gonna go to the gym, then my vocal lessons, and then yeah, I'll be back. Oh, check out the interview with Aaron. But beforehand, make sure you guys are following She Paints on Facebook. Please like it, please follow. She Paints is amazing. So let's go ahead and play the promo, and then we'll get out of here. Love y'all. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering, who is She Paints? Where did she come from? Well, she is a Jill of all trades. She's literally an artist, a painter, a travel vlogger. Get to know She Paints on Facebook. She's actually going to Europe. You get to see London, Paris, Amsterdam, the world through her eyes. Have you ever been afraid to travel the world and been like, oh, I don't know how this is? Well, you have your opportunity to see how it is through the eyes of She Paints. Make sure you guys follow her on Facebook right now because you don't want to miss her journey through Europe. You are going to be in for